Hi guys, Chris Salinas here with the AutoDen. We're here at High Tech Studios. Today we're going to be doing a PPF class. We have Nick and Kevin Rogers here. We are going to be applying our global PPF Plus. We're going to be doing a full frontal coverage on this Lexus SC430. We will be doing full hood, full bumper, full fenders, and mirror caps. Right now we're going to go to our PPF tint and tools section. We'll be getting the tools that we're going to be using for the installations. Follow us. We're going to be using our rubber high-tech squeegee. All of these are new tools that we're going to be using for PPF installation. Our angled squeegee will help us get out a lot of the film. It's a double textured squeegee. This will move out a lot of the film. These two are going to be more for intricate areas or a little bit more flexible. I'm going to grab a set. Kevin will grab a set, and we'll get started on the prep for the PPF. All right guys, first step is we are going to be doing the hood. We did prop it up a little bit just to be able to put our bulk film on there, and that way we're able to tack off of the hood. What we're going to do now is get off any contaminants that are off the paint. That we're going to be doing with a clay bar, and we'll jump to that now. And again, like I said, all we're going to do right now is just try and get the surface as clean as possible with the clay bar, and that's going to get any contaminants off the paint. This is just an important part. You don't want to be putting PPF on any contaminants. This will just help it stick a little bit better. I did already clean the underside, so we won't be showing that, but we'll get to that once we start that cell. This is mainly just to get any contaminants off the paint. As you can see, they're coming off now. You don't want any of that underneath your film. And this just leaves a nice clean surface for the PPF to stick to. I'm going to use our silicone blade to get off any excess water. All right guys, now that we have the hood prepped, we did get off any excess moisture. We'll towel dry it. Next, we're going to be pulling our bulk piece that we will be installing on the full hood, and we'll dump that to that next. Again, we will be using our new global PPF Plus super gloss, and this will be a bulk installation on the hood. All right guys, now that we have our piece pulled, this is going to be the piece of PPF that we use for the full hood. What we're going to do now is just make sure that we get all of our slip solution on the hood, and then we will remove the liner off of the PPF, and we will start the install. Again, our slip solution is just going to be water and Johnson's baby shampoo, and our tack solution is going to be 70% isopropyl alcohol with water as well, and we'll use that towards the end of the installation when we either need to tuck it underneath, or we will use it to initiate a tack anchor point when we do our stretch as well. We are going to be removing the cap sheet. All right guys, we removed our cap sheet. The cap sheet is on there for delivery, as it comes in. In delivery, it's just to protect the film so that there's no marring or anything on the film, but we'll remove that. Now we're going to be removing the liner off of the film. As we do that, I will wet the PPF. You want to make sure that you saturate your pattern. You want to make sure you don't have any dry spots. That'll prevent any ghosting in the film. Just want to make sure you have it very nice and wet. Brad Carey can pull off the rings. Okay guys, now that we have our slip solution on our film, it's totally saturated. We don't have to worry about any dry spots. The hood is prepped as well. Kevin and Nick are going to be placing the pattern on the hood. We'll get started on that. The bulk piece on the hood, this is going to give you a general idea. What we're going to try and do is work out as many fingers as we can with the stretch. So what we're going to do now is we're going to use our tack solution. We will be tacking off of the hood. So I'm going to apply a little bit of tack where I want this to tack down. With our tack solution, like I said, we are going to be tacking to the fender. What this does is it's going to give us an anchor point for Kevin to be able to work his stretch out that way. We're going to anchor this down, make sure it's tacked. What we'll do here as well is we'll work a little bit of tack on this section. And like I said, all we're doing here, guys, we're just going to make an anchor point. So that way you can work your stretch. And as you can see, I'm kind of just reading it a little bit. So I'm going to tack this here. Make sure we're tacked. I'm going to tack this to the front edge here. Like I said, you can pick your tack point. Just, of course, the more points of tack you have, you'll be able to work your stretch a little bit better. So now we can start from, you don't have to do it all together, but you'd want to maybe work some of these out. So if you want to pull up towards this corner, cover that side. And like I said, we'll work some of those out once we stretch it this way. So if you what we're going to do, guys, right now, as we have our film on here, we are going to try and just go ahead and work our stretch so we can get a little bit of memory. Kevin's going to go ahead and read his fingers right now. He's going to tack it to the fender. And all we're making sure is just to try and work out as many fingers as we can with the stretch versus having to work it out so much with the squeegee. Again, the tack solution is isopropyl alcohol and water. And Kevin is going to work his stretch, tack it to the fender. Be able to work our stretch without the pattern moving so much. All right, on the same thing, Nick, on your side, what we're going to do is we can always readjust it here. Right now, the pattern's just floating. So what we're going to do is just read your fingers. And we can start on either side. Go ahead, if you would, you may start on this back side. Kind of just pull it a little bit tight and kind of just read your fingers. And you know, if you have to, you can pull it towards you, you pull away. All we want to do is make sure that covers corner, that this corner's covered, and see how we have no more fingers to worry about. So that's a perfect stretch right there. So go ahead and spray your alcohol there. So just remember, sometimes you let a little bit of the tension off when you're trying to squeegee it down. Just give it one more pull, make sure everything's good. Just tack it down there. And like I said, that's going to be an anchor point. Kevin has his anchor point in the back. And we've already worked out pretty much a lot of the, stress that's there. So now we're just going to be working this front end. Can do the same thing, tack it to the bumper there, just right below the light. Just trying to lead. And of course, these will work out, later on when we're squeegeeing out. There's just not enough anywhere to tack here. So for the most part, we have about 80% of the fingers out. So what we're gonna do now is we will wet the surface. If you want, you guys can split it down the middle and then just start working your, getting the water out. There's really not a right way or the wrong way to squeegee, but being that this is such a long hood, what I would recommend is probably just squeegeeing front to back. And where we'll start here is, what we want to do here, see how all of this is floating. The best way to work this out is just simply you're going to get it in here with your hand. And all of this, you just want to work out as much in it with your hand as you can. And what you'll do is you'll kind of set it in the groove and you'll just follow it with your squeegee. It will lay in there. I know it looks like there's a lot floating there, but you can just kind of work it in with your hand and then just follow it with your squeegee. And now after you worked on that body line, now you can get everything else, Kevin. So you can either work up from this body line down, or you can work to the middle this way. I would probably, since we already checked this, you don't want to introduce any water to the dry spots, because that's where you get your snail trails, or you can get a little bit of distortion. So now you can work this way out of the body line, and then, you know, work your way to the middle and down. And again, like I said, just 50-50, 50-50 overlap. You can work your way from the back to the front. Same thing of this little recess, just kind of, you know, push it in there with your hand, follow with your squeegee.
I can go this way.
Right, you can, it doesn't matter which direction you get. So if you want to get this out and then on your body line, seal this body line, and then you can just kind of start working your way towards. And that'll work later on. We'll cut that out. That's not a problem. And like I said, the only thing you just have to be careful of is, you know, you just don't want to introduce any water back into where you've already squeegeed, because that's where we get, you know, a little bit of distortion, snail trails and stuff like that, because you're introducing, you know, wet into where it was already dry.
Where it was dry, makes sense.
And like I said, if you see that you have a little big bubble, you can always just kind of, there's maybe a little bit of recess there. You can just kind of, push it out, and that way you get a little bit of the moisture out, you know, with that. Here, what I'll do, if you want to seal that edge as well, if you don't have anywhere to tack to this, you can put a little bit of tack on the edge, and then you can go ahead and seal it. And with this super gloss, you can tell, you know, just how much of the flake is accentuated. It's a really nice film.
It looks beautiful.
Works really good.
Kind of like this.
Yeah, you can do that. Like I said, the only thing is, on the PPF, I know as tinners, you know, we kind of lay a little bit flat. I leave my actually a little bit more upright. And I usually, like I said, I like to pull towards me just so I can make sure that I'm getting a good 50-50 overlap, and I can kind of see the moisture as it comes out versus opposing pushing, which you can do, but me personally, I just like being able to see the moisture that I'm getting out, and I just make sure. So just a little bit more upright than like a tint application, and that's just because we're gonna have a lot more moisture. The film is a little bit thicker, so at a 9, you know, more of a, you know, 45 degrees,
instead of like
flat, like we would tint,
kind of feathery,
right?
Going more like
as much of the slip solution out as possible.
Gotcha.
What you're doing there is actually pretty good. Sometimes if there's too much tension on it and you're trying to squeegee water out, Kevin, if there's too much tension on it like this and you try and squeegee water out while you're creating a seal, for sometimes you might have to just lift it up a little bit off of it, and that way you can, you know, squeegee it out.
Makes sense.
And on these, what I'll do is I'll kind of just work them slowly with a little bit of like the way we would do like a pull shrink on tint. I'll just work them, you know, just slow. Now that I have the tech on there, I can work them. And then basically what you're doing is just making the fingers just a little bit smaller. You're splitting them up into a few little spots. So you're gonna have to kind of work with your pull still. But see, as we move them down little by little, we're getting a little bit more, you know, we're heaving them, we're making them smaller as we move down. This is where, you know, a little bit of heat or tack is gonna work. And what I'll do is I'll just try and break it up in sections and just, you know, kind of seal one side. See, they will stay with the tack. So what I do is I, you know, kind of sometimes I'll do like a little 1, 2, 3 Mississippi. And you can, like I said, they'll stay with the tack. The tack is going to be what you're going to have to use on something like this, just because we didn't have the, the convenience of, having a full pull here. If we had like a 72-inch, or if it wasn't such a long hood,
You can tack it.
be able to tack it here.
Really pull it out.
It would pull out.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
So here what we're gonna do is just work it down little by little as far as we can. And like I said, for this, in this case where this is really brittle, we're gonna have to probably just work it up into this line and then just kind of cut it, because you don't want to break those clips. So these will get, start sticking little by little. So if you want, I'm gonna spray some tack on this front edge.
Okay.
And if you want, just work them down slowly. And like I said, once you get down towards this edge, you can kind of squeegee it. And then what you do is just kind of
Hold it for a second.
hold a little bit of pressure under, because it is also pressure sensitive. So
Okay.
with a little bit of heat, with a little bit of pressure and some tack, it will, start to stay. But
Oh, we went from here to here. Yeah.
so once we make our little cut, after we get it down, then we'll really be able to finish it off. So I'm gonna help you out here, just a little bit of tack, and then you can just kind of work those down little by little. We go ahead and just try and, the way we would do a little pull shrink, just kind of read the fingers and just kind of get it down as far as you can slowly. Little bit of pressure there, hold it for a little bit. And this is also like where the steamers come into play, making it a little bit more malleable.
Right.
And heat it up a little for it to stick, but we can work those out little by little. And once we do our relief cut and relieve some of this, then we'll be able to kind of tuck it in there better and then finish it. All right, guys, now that we've done our bulk hood, we're gonna jump to the bumper. We're gonna use our film cut program to cut out the PPF pattern. That way we don't have to bulk this and cut on the paint. We've already loaded it into our workhorse plotter. We did our test cuts. We have the right pressures. We have the right speed. Now we're gonna go ahead and cut out our pattern. We'll go to film cut. We did already pick out our PPF patterns. It's a 2004 Lexus SC430. And now we are gonna cut the pattern. All right, guys, now we got our pattern cut out. Now what we're gonna do is we're gonna start the weeding process, and basically we're just gonna remove any excess film and just leave our pattern so that we have a more maneuverable piece. We'll be able to cut it out. We'll trim out anything that's extra. And what we'll do is we'll just leave our pattern in our cap sheet, and that way, our release liner, and that way we'll have a more manageable piece. With the cap sheet, it's a little bit easier, but you run the risk of sometimes cutting into your pattern. And sometimes in the beginning, if you're worried about messing up a pattern, Now that we finished the weeding process, now you can kind of see our pattern take shape. This is going to be our installation on our bumper. It does already cut out side markers. It does cut out the washers for the headlights as well. And all of that, now we don't have to worry about cutting on the paint. All of our pattern is here. All of our relief cuts are made. So this is going to make it a lot easier for install, and it'll just be a better fit. Okay guys, we already have the hood. We did the mirrors also in a bulk. Nick now is gonna prep this fender for a full coverage PPF. He's gonna clay bar it. This is gonna get any contaminants off of the paint, get it as clean as possible. Once he does that, we'll give it a final prep with our prep spray, and then we'll get ready to lay a bulk fender. We will be doing a full fender on both sides. We cut out our bulk pieces. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna go ahead and Nick already prepped the passenger side panel. We're gonna wet it down with our slip solution, get that ready, and then we'll go ahead and start the bulk installation on the fender. What Kevin's doing now, we're just tacking it to the door so that way we can have a good anchor point. And then if you want, go ahead and get this top corner at least. Okay, and then now this is where you want to work out your fingers with the stretch. So here, Nick, if you want, you just want to kind of pull a little bit of this tension down here. We can just kind of tack it right here below that fender. That's good, that's gonna be floating. So now you're gonna want to pull it, not as tight, just kind of get a little bit of that tension going, pull it tighter, and we're gonna tack to the bumper here. So go ahead and nail it. Go ahead and work out that stretch. We'll maybe come down a little bit. Okay. So we got that tacked. So now we have this area, of course it's gonna have a little bit of tension just because it's gonna be, it's got that recess there. So we're gonna have to work that recess down. And the same thing in the recess. If you wanna work it down with your hand, and then follow your, follow your squeaky down. There, if you wanna go ahead and, like I said, you can work into that recess. You can start on the top, and that way you kind of seal that edge right here, that, whatever's laying flat. Go ahead and seal it all the way across. right, guys, that's concluded for this job. We did a full PPF job on this SC430 Lexus. We did a full frontal, which includes full hood, full fenders, full bumper. Kevin and Nick knocked this out the park. Everything is totally trimmed, tucked, ready to go. This thing looks great. The gloss is amazing. Looks really good. These guys, I have no, this is their first time doing PPF. I'm confident in their skills. The bumper was a little bit tricky. I'd say on a 1 to 10, probably about a 7. Did really well. Car looks amazing. Customer's gonna be happy. And now this car will be fully protected against rock chips, bugs, anything that it will encounter on day-to-day use. Nothing else is gonna happen to this vehicle, and it'll stay looking like this for years to come. Stay tuned for the next video.